I closed the biggest narcotics case of my career, and the apartment felt colder than a holding cell. Lauren didn't ask if I was okay. She asked who got credit. 18 months of nights that didn't count as nights. Files stacked like bricks. Photos you don't show anyone. Names you say carefully because they have weight. Victor Delgado finally went down at 2:17 p.m. on a Wednesday. Clean cuffs, clean chain, clean transport. No hero stuff, just paperwork. A controlled by that held up, and a judge who couldn't pretend it was insufficient anymore. By the time I got home, my body felt like it was running on fumes and spite. I stood outside my door for a second, palm on the knob, letting myself believe this was the part where I exhaled, where the person waiting inside knew what it cost and gave me something simple back. "Hey, I'm proud of you. A meal." A hand on the shoulder. I walked in. Lauren was on the couch with her laptop open. Hair perfect. Blazer draped like she lived in a magazine. 2 phones. A legal pad. The whole campaign life altar spread out on the coffee table. I loosened my tie and said, "Delgado's in." Her eyes flicked up. Not wide. Not relieved. Just a quick scan like I'd walked in holding a brochure. "Good," she said. "Was it a federal handoff or did you keep it local?" "Local," I said. "He'll be in the country by dinner." She nodded like she answered a quiz. Then she turned the laptop a few degrees toward herself, already moving on. "Okay, so, who's going to get the headline?" she asked. I stopped mid-step. "The headline? Rick," she sighed, like I'd made it complicated. "The press release. The optics. Who's standing next to the captain? Who's speaking? Was the DA looped in early? Or is he going to feel blindsided?" I stared at her. The silence stretched long enough for me to hear the refrigerator hum. "I'm going to shower," I said. "Wait." She held up a finger without looking away from the screen. "One thing." I stayed standing. That was my mistake. If I sat down, it would have looked like I was there to negotiate. She finally looked at me full on, and her face was calm in a way that always meant she'd already done the math. "This is a good case," she said. "It's solid work, but it doesn't change the problem." "What problem?" I asked, though I knew. She leaned back, crossing her legs like a judge settling into a sentence. "You're still just a detective," she said. "And before you get defensive, listen. Influence matters. Access matters. You can't keep acting like arrests are the whole world when the world is run by people who don't wear badges." I felt something in my chest tighten. Not pain. Something closer to offense. The kind a man registers and doesn't show. "I took down a kingpin," I said. 18 months. "And I'm telling you," she said, voice even, "it doesn't move you. Not in the way that counts. It makes a nice story, but it doesn't build power." I took a slow breath through my nose. Controlled. Measured. Like I was standing in an interview room and not my living room. "You happy?" I asked. "Is that what this is? A performance review?" Her gaze didn't flinch. "It's our life," she said. "And I'm not marrying potential. I'm marrying a future." I waited for the joke that wasn't coming. She closed her laptop with a soft click that sounded louder than it should have. "I want a month," she said. 1 month to decide if you're worth marrying, if you're going to stay where you are. If you're going to stay, just a detective. The word just landed like a slap delivered with clean hands. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't pace. I didn't do anything dramatic. I just looked at her and let the quiet hang there until she had to live inside it. "Got it," I said. I walked past her to the bathroom, shut the door, and locked it. Not because I was afraid of her, but because I needed one room in that apartment that wasn't a campaign office. In the mirror, I saw my own face. Tired, older than it should have been, eyes flat from the job. I turned the water on and listened to it run, thinking about Delgado in cuffs, thinking about Lauren's calm ultimatum, and realizing the same thing twice. Case ends. Person doesn't. And tonight, I'd won at work. Then came home to find out I was still on trial. I slept maybe 2 hours, the kind that doesn't clean anything off you. When the alarm went off, my head felt packed with cotton and old arguments. Lauren's side of the bed was made tight, like she'd never been in it. On the drive-in, I kept my hands at 10 and 2 out of habit, jaw working like it wanted to chew through steel. I told myself the same thing I tell rookies when they get emotional on a scene. Do your job. Feel later. The bullpen was already loud. Phones, printers, somebody laughing too hard at something that wasn't funny. Marcus Hill spotted me the second I walked in. You look like you got hit by a bus, he said. Bus missed, I said. Just clipped me. He fell beside me, coffee in hand, eyes doing that thing his always did, reading the room, reading me. Before we could even dump our coats, Captain Denise Carter popped her head out of her office. Both of you. Now. Carter didn't waste air. She sat behind her desk like it was bolted to the floor and slid a manila folder across to me. The tab was stamped with a controller's seal and a red sticker that said flagged. The city controller kicked this upstairs last night, she said. Public corruption angle, contract fraud, shell vendors, inflated municipal payouts. I opened the folder. First page. A spreadsheet printout with a trail of payments that looked too clean to be honest. Vendor names that sounded like somebody made them up while staring at a wall. Stonebridge Consulting. Riverline Solutions. Amounts all just under thresholds that trigger automatic review. Money moves like it's being washed, Marcus said, leaning in. Carter nodded. Exactly. And I want you two on it quiet. No calls to friends in the courthouse. No heads up to anyone downtown. You pull the thread and you don't tell me what color it is until you've got fabric. I flipped deeper. Municipal departments, purchase orders, approvals. Familiar signatures. Then my stomach did a small, hard drop. The same developer name hit the page twice like a knuckle. Caleb Weston Development Group. Marcus saw it too. His eyebrows lifted just a fraction. Weston, he said carefully. Isn't Weston the guy who bankrolls? Don't, I said. Too sharp. Too fast. Carter's eyes tracked between us. Bankrolls who? Marcus didn't look at her. He looked at me, giving me a chance to say it first. I didn't, so he did. Gavin Price, Marcus said. Mayoral candidate. Weston's the biggest donor. Big checks. Big photo ops. Carter didn't react like a civilian. She reacted like a commander. A pause. A recalculation. And your fiancé, she said, voice flat, works that campaign. The word fiancé sounded like a detail from somebody else's life. Yes, I said. Lauren's senior staff. Carter leaned back, fingers steepled. Tell me right now if you can work this without your home life bleeding into it. I didn't blink. I can. Marcus gave me a look that wasn't judgment. It was a warning. Carter held my stare another second, then nodded once. Good, because if this is real, it's going to get ugly fast. And if it's not real, they're going to say we invented it. She tapped the folder. Start with the paper trail. Subpoenas where you can, quiet interviews where you can't. And Rick. Yes, ma'am. If I get even a whiff that your relationship is steering this case, she said, I will pull you off it so hard you'll skid. I closed the folder and stood. The weight of it felt wrong in my hand, like holding something alive. In the hallway, Marcus walked beside me, voice low. You okay? He asked. I kept moving. I'm awake. That's not what I asked. I stopped at my desk, set the folder down like it might bite. My home's already a war room, I said. Now my job is walking into it. Marcus took a sip of coffee, eyes on the folder. Then don't flinch, he said. Paper doesn't care who you're engaged to. I looked at the first page again, amounts, dates, approvals, and felt the shape of the problem forming. Last night, Lauren gave me a month to prove I was worth marrying. This morning, the city handed me a case that might prove she wasn't worth trusting. Daniel Brooks didn't want to meet at City Hall. He didn't even want to say City Hall out loud. He picked a coffee shop 2 neighborhoods over, the kind with cracked vinyl booths and a chalkboard menu nobody read. He showed up early, sat with his back to the wall, and kept his hands wrapped around his cup like it was the only solid thing left. Marcus and I slid into the booth across from him. Brooks didn't smile. He didn't waste time. I can't be seen with you, he said. Not downtown. Not in my office. Someone's watching everything. Who? I asked. He shook his head. It doesn't matter. If you're here, you already know what kind of people do this. I opened my notebook. Walk us through what you flagged. Brooks took a breath like he was about to dive underwater. It starts as routine, he said. Contracts, bids, small projects, sidewalk repairs, community revitalization. The stuff nobody reads unless it goes wrong. He reached into his bag and pulled out a thin folder, edges bent from being opened too many times in private. Fake vendors, he said, tapping a page. They're real on paper, registered LLCs, proper tax IDs, but the addresses overlap. Same mailbox services. Same phone numbers routed through the same VoIP providers. You pay them for services that are hard to verify, and then the money moves. Where? Marcus asked. Brooks slid a second page forward. Lines highlighted in yellow. Out, he said. Split across departments so no single budget looks bloated. Always just under the trigger points that would force an automated audit. It's designed to be boring. I scanned the numbers. It wasn't sloppy. It was disciplined. Who signs off? I asked. Brooks hesitated. His eyes darted to the window, then back to me. That's the lever, he said, voice dropping. The approvals don't happen by accident. They don't happen because someone made a typo. He swallowed. Building Commissioner Nolan Mercer, he said. Marcus didn't react, but I saw his eyes narrow. Brooks kept going like he'd decided if he stopped now, he'd never finish. Mercer fast-tracks permits, pushes them through with urgency flags, overrides review objections, he said. And if anyone asks questions, he calls it economic momentum or getting out of our own way. Why would he do it? I asked. Brooks gave a tight, humorless laugh. Because Mercer's a climber, he said. And climbers don't climb for free. There's talk he's got a job waiting if Price wins. Deputy Mayor, Chief of Staff. Something with a title and a bigger mirror. The booth went quiet. The case stopped being numbers. It became a line, straight and clean, pointing toward power. I closed my notebook. Daniel, I said. You did the right thing bringing this forward. He looked at me like he didn't believe in right anymore. I did the necessary thing, he said. There's a difference. Marcus stood first. We'll keep you insulated. Brooks nodded once, but his eyes stayed on the door as we left, like he expected someone to walk in and end the conversation with a bullet or a pink slip. Outside, the air felt colder than it should have. Marcus exhaled. Okay, now it's real. I stared at the traffic moving past like it didn't know anything. It was real the moment he said Mercer, I said. Now it's personal. We built the case the way you build anything that's meant to survive. Quietly, cleanly, piece by piece. Days turned into a routine of bank records, vendor registrations, permit logs, and signatures that kept repeating like a bad chorus. Nights turned into something else. An apartment shared by two people who spoke like they were drafting statements. Lauren started coming home later. Not worked late, later, strategic late. The kind where you miss dinner and still have energy to critique the lighting in the kitchen. When she did talk to me, it wasn't to me. It was at me. How was your day? She'd ask, and her eyes would already be on her phone. Long, I'd say. Thumb scrolling. Try not to look miserable in public. People notice. That was where we were. One night, I tried to keep it normal. I kept my voice easy, like the question wasn't a hook. Price has been talking about development stuff more? I asked, opening the fridge. Lots of construction promises. Lauren didn't even pretend not to catch the angle. She turned in the doorway, one hand on her bag strap, and looked at me like I'd just drawn a weapon. Don't, she said. Don't what? Don't fish, she said. You're out of your depth, Rick. I shut the fridge and faced her. It's a question. No, she said. It's a probe. And you don't get to probe my work because you've decided you're the moral center of the city. That hit hard because it wasn't loud. It was precise. I'm doing my job, I said. And I'm doing mine, she shot back. The difference is, my job actually changes things. I felt the anger rise, controlled but hot, like pressure in a pipe. Facts change things. I said. Truth changes things. Lauren laughed once, short, dry. In my world, she said, facts are whatever survives the news cycle. Truth is whatever we can hold long enough to win. There it was. Not a slip. A creed. I watched her face as she said it. No shame, no doubt, just confidence. Like she was proud of being tougher than the concept of right and wrong. You hear yourself? I asked. She stepped closer, voice low. I hear reality. You hear a bedtime story you tell yourself so you can sleep. I held her stare. You gave me a month to prove I'm worth marrying. She tilted her head like she was already ahead of me. And you're making my decision easier. She walked past me toward the bedroom, heels clicking like punctuation. I stood alone in the kitchen, hands flat on the counter, breathing slow, because the apartment didn't feel like home anymore. Felt like a briefing room. And in her briefing room, I wasn't her fiancé. I was a liability she hadn't decided how to handle yet. Kyle Bennett didn't look like a whistleblower. He looked like a kid who'd been trying to pretend he belonged in rooms he couldn't afford. Mid-20s, thin tie, nervous hands. He showed up at the precinct lobby with a visitor badge and the kind of face that says he hasn't slept since the first time someone hinted he might want to be careful. Marcus and I took him into interview 3, no camera, no casual traffic. Captain Carter's call. Kyle sat on the edge of the chair like it was too hot. I don't want to be on the news, he said before we even asked his name. I don't want my mom getting a call. I need to not disappear. You're doing the right thing, Marcus said. Kyle gave a weak shake of his head. I don't even know what that is anymore. I slid a notepad toward him. Start simple. What do you do? Junior compliance, he said. Building commission. Paperwork. Reviews. I'm supposed to flag irregularities before they become problems. And you found problems, I said. His throat bobbed. Commissioner Mercer, he's been fast-tracking approvals, Kyle said. Not just speeding things up, overriding objections, pushing permits through with missing documents, bad bids, vendors that don't make sense. Why? I asked. Kyle hesitated, then leaned forward like he had to get the words out before he lost the nerve. He told me it was coming from higher up, Kyle said. That's what he said. Higher up wants it done. We're not here to ask questions. Marcus and I exchanged a look. Not surprising. Confirmation. Kyle pulled his phone from his pocket with shaking fingers. And I have something, he said. Show us, I said. He unlocked the screen, scrolled, then held it out. A photo. Time-stamped. Restaurant lighting. A booth in the back with the kind of warm glow people pay for when they want to look important. Nolan Mercer in the foreground, smiling, glass raised. Next to him, Caleb Weston, the developer who kept showing up in our financial trail. And across from them, half-turned toward the camera like he owned the place, Gavin Price. Marcus let out a slow breath through his nose. That's not rumors. That's a meeting. Kyle nodded fast. It was last week. Mercer didn't even care who saw. They were celebrating. Like something big went through. I took the phone for a closer look. Clean faces. No blur. Time and location stamped by the app. This wasn't just a match. It was a match thrown near a gas leak. I handed it back. You saved the original? Yes, Kyle said. And I can forward it. I can sign a statement. I need to not get crushed for it. You won't, I said, and meant it in the only way I could, by doing my job with precision. We walked Kyle out through a side corridor so he didn't have to cross the bullpen. Marcus headed to start the paperwork on a protection request. I took the photo straight to Captain Carter. She studied it without emotion. That worried me more than if she'd cursed. When she finally looked up, her eyes pinned me to the chair like a tack. This ties Mercer to Weston and Price, she said. This escalates from audits to indictments. Yes, ma'am. And it escalates your conflict, she added. I didn't speak. No point pretending I didn't know what she meant. Carter set the photo face down on her desk like it was contagious. Can you stay objective? She asked. I held her gaze. I can stay accurate, I said. I can stay disciplined. If you're asking if I can pretend it won't hit my life, no. It's already hitting. Carter sat back, evaluating. You understand that defense attorneys will paint this as you targeting a campaign because your relationship soured. I understand, I said. Then you'll do everything by the book, she said. Every step is documented. Every contact logged. You do not freelance. You do not get emotional. You do not make this about your fiancé. I nodded once. Understood. Carter's voice softened by half a degree. Still steel, just less sharp. And Rick, she said, if you feel yourself slipping, you tell me before it becomes a problem. I stood to leave, the folder and the photo heavy in my head. In the hallway, I felt my phone buzz. A text from Lauren. We need to talk tonight. No emoji, no softness, just a scheduled collision. I stared at the screen, then slipped the phone back into my pocket, because now the case wasn't circling my home. It was on a straight line toward it. Mercer came in wearing confidence like a suit he couldn't afford anymore. He tried the usual moves. Small smile, big posture. I've got meetings. Like time was armor. We sat him down anyway. Marcus ran the timeline. I laid the paper out clean. Those vendors, I said, tapping the list, aren't vendors. They're funnels. Mercer shrugged. Not my lane. I slid Kyle Bennett's statement across the table. Then the photo, timestamp and all, Mercer with Weston and Price, glasses up like they just bought the city. His eyes flicked, a microsecond too long. Then he recovered. That's dinner, he said. People eat. People don't celebrate permit overrides, Marcus said. Unless there's something worth celebrating. Mercer leaned forward. You boys don't understand how the government works. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The government works the way it's written, I said. This works the way it's hidden. I pushed the bank subpoenas toward him. The shell addresses. The cross-department splits. The approval logs with his signature stamped over and over like a machine. Mercer's mouth went dry. His confidence started leaking out in the places he couldn't control. His hands, his blinking, the way he swallowed like he was trying to get rid of a bad taste. You can help yourself, I said. Or you can get used to a cell where nobody cares who you used to know. He stared at the table, long enough that the silence became an answer. Then he exhaled and said, You have no idea what kind of fire you're playing with. Try me, Marcus said. Mercer's shoulders slumped. Not dramatic, just defeated. Weston funded it, he said. Price wanted momentum. Headlines. Jobs created. I was told to clear the runway. Told by who? I asked. Mercer looked up, eyes wet with something that wasn't remorse. Fear. I want a deal, he said. In writing. Captain Carter got him an attorney and a proffer before his courage could come back. By the time we were done, Mercer wasn't a commissioner anymore. He was a witness trying to survive. I got home after dark. Lauren was waiting by the window, arms folded. Calm in the way that means the argument already happened in her head and you're just showing up to play your part. You brought Mercer in, she said. I froze for half a beat. How do you know that? She didn't answer. She stepped closer. You need to recuse, she said. This is a hit job and you're too close to see it. It's not a hit job, I said. It's theft with paperwork. Her eyes hardened. It's politics, and you don't understand politics. I set my keys down slowly. Then explain it. She shook her head like I was exhausted. Sometimes you make compromises for the greater good. Sometimes you protect the work. The work, I repeated. Or the campaign. Lauren's mask slipped. Just enough. I knew there were adjustments, she said. Everyone knows. That's how things get done. My voice stayed level. So you knew money was being diverted. Her jaw tightened. I knew it was complicated. Complicated is a word people use when wrong is inconvenient, I said. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. Fine, she said quietly. If you're going to make this righteous, don't expect me to stand here and let you burn my future. She went to the bedroom, came back with a suitcase already half-packed. Like she'd rehearsed it. Then she did it clean. No tears. No shaking hands. She slid the engagement ring off her finger and set it on the table. 1 month, she said. That was generous. You just saved me the time. And she walked out like closing a door was just another decision. I stood there looking at the ring, not heartbroken, alert, because the case had just proven something I didn't want to know. Lauren didn't fear the truth. She feared losing. Weston didn't get a clean exit. We picked up the attempt before it became a headline. Airport alert, cash withdrawal pattern. A panicked call to a private pilot service that wasn't as private as he thought. Patrol caught him with a carry-on that screamed flight, not trip. The DA moved fast. So did the campaign's mouthpieces. By noon, TV screens in every waiting room were running the same script. Political witch hunt. Dirty cops. Election interference. Lauren's fingerprints weren't on the screen, but I could hear her voice in the phrasing. Tight, defensive, built for sound bites. That evening, my phone buzzed from an unknown number. If you want the whole thing, come alone. Back booth. The Riptide. 9:30. Don't bring your partner. Don't bring your pride. I showed Captain Carter anyway. Not the number, just the message. She didn't love it, but she understood leverage when it showed up. Marcus stays close, she said. Out of sight. You don't play the hero. I nodded. Not my hobby. The Riptide was a dive bar that smelled like old beer and bad decisions. Neon sign half dead. Sticky floor. The kind of place where people disappear without anybody calling it a tragedy. I took the back booth. Kept my back to the wall. Ordered water I didn't drink. At 9:41, a man slid into the seat across from me like he'd done it 1,000 times and regretted it every time. Late 30s. Hoodie. Eyes that kept checking reflections. He didn't give me a name. IT contractor, he said. Hired through a third party. Systems optimization. City systems? I asked. He nodded. Permits. Vendor management. Internal comms. They wanted speed. They got holes. What do you want? I asked. Don't fall, guy, he said. Weston's running. Mercer's folding. Price is going to pretend he never heard of any of it. He reached into his jacket and put a small USB drive on the table between us. Black plastic. No label. Light as nothing. Heavy as hell. This is recovered mail, he said. Deleted threads. Drafts. Attachments. They thought deleted meant gone. I haven't touched it yet. Why give it to me? He stared at the table like it might open. Because I saw the list, he said. Who were they going to blame? Who they were going to bury? And I'm not built for prison. I watched his hands. They were steady now. Steady like a man who'd already crossed his line and was just trying to survive the fall. Are you in it? I asked. He swallowed. I fixed what they asked me to fix. I didn't ask why. That was my sin. I took the drive, slipped it into an evidence bag in my pocket without making a show of it. You'll need a lawyer, I said, and you'll need to talk to the DA. I will, he said, after you see what's on that. He stood to leave, then leaned in close enough that I could smell the cheap cologne. There's a name you're not going to like, he said. Then he was gone, swallowed by the noise and the dark like he was never there. Back at the precinct, we ran it through the proper chain. No personal laptop, no shortcuts. Everything logged because Carter's warning still rang in my ears. The emails came up in a raw, ugly list. Subject lines that tried to sound harmless. Threads that weren't harmless at all. Weston. Need approvals pushed through by Friday. Mercer. Handled. Price. We announce Monday. Keep it clean. And then I saw it. Lauren Pierce. Copied on multiple threads. Not one. Not two. Multiple. Her name sat there like a bullet on a tray. In one thread, she didn't just receive. She contributed short, sharp messaging guidance. Words shaped to survive the news cycle. If pressed, frame as standard development acceleration. Emphasize jobs. Avoid specifics. Redirect to the opponent's donors. My throat tightened. Not sadness. Disgust. I printed the most relevant chain, sealed the drive, and walked it straight into Captain Carter's office with my pulse steady and my jaw locked. She read in silence. Her face didn't change, but the air in the room did. When she finished, she set the paper down carefully. "This doesn't just indict Price," she said. "No," I answered. "It burns the whole house." Carter looked at me, voice low. "Including Lauren." I nodded once. Slow. "Yeah," I said. "Including Lauren." And for the first time since she walked out, I wasn't wondering if she'd come back. I was wondering how far she'd run. It was past midnight when the knock came. Not the polite kind. Not the neighbor kind. 3 sharp hits like a decision. I opened the door and Lauren stood there without her armor. No blazer. No perfect hair. Eyes tired. Makeup half done like she'd started to fix her face and stopped halfway because it felt pointless. She looked a human. For 1 second, something in me almost softened. The old reflex. The memory of who I thought she was. Then she spoke. "Rick," she said, and it wasn't tender. It was urgent. I didn't step aside. I didn't invite her in. "What do you want?" I asked. Her eyes flicked past me into the apartment like she expected to see a warrant team hiding behind the couch. "I need to know what you have," she said. There it was. Clean. Immediate. I let the silence sit between us until she couldn't pretend it wasn't the only thing she came for. "You're not here for me," I said. Her jaw tightened. "Don't do that." "Don't do what?" I asked. "Name it." She exhaled and tried to shift the tone, soften, warm. "Us." "I didn't think it would get this far," she said. "Weston is panicking. He's calling people. He's saying he's going to—" She stopped, swallowed. "He's threatening to burn everyone." I watched her face, watched the way she kept circling the same point without landing on it like she was afraid of the truth even now. "Who's getting arrested?" she asked. "When? Is Price, is he?" I cut her off. "No." Her eyes flashed. "No what?" "No case details," I said. "No names. No timelines. No, help me understand." She stepped closer, voice dropping. "Rick, I'm not asking for favors. I'm asking for an escape hatch," I said. She froze, like the word fit too well. I leaned on the doorframe, calm on purpose. "You weren't confused," I said. "You weren't in the dark. You were in the loop. Emails, messaging, damage control." Her face tightened, and for the first time she looked genuinely scared. "Not of me, of consequence." "I was doing my job," she whispered. "That's what Mercer said," I replied. "That's what Weston says. That's what everyone says right before they swear they're a victim." Lauren's eyes glistened, but even the almost tears looked strategic, like they were auditioning for a room with cameras. "I can fix this," she said quickly. "I can help. If I know what you have, I can." "You can't spin evidence," I said. "You can only cooperate with it." She stared at me, breathing fast. "How do you cooperate?" she asked. I kept my voice flat. "You show up with a lawyer. You tell the truth. You stop trying to control the story and accept the consequences." She swallowed. "And if I don't?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten. I just said the only honest thing. "Then you'll be treated like anyone else who helped cover it up," I said. "No special treatment. No backdoor. Not from me." Her face shifted, anger trying to replace fear. "You'd really do that?" she said, like it was a betrayal. I nodded once. "Yes." For a moment, she looked like she might say something real, something human, an apology that wasn't built to land well. Instead, she stepped back, composure returning like a mask sliding into place. "Okay," she said quietly. "I understand." But it didn't sound like understanding. It sounded like recalculating. She turned to leave, then paused without looking back. "I did love you," she said. I didn't answer, because even that sounded like a line she'd practiced for when the door closed. She walked away down the hall, footsteps light, controlled, and I stood there in the doorway, watching her disappear into the dark, thinking the same thing I'd learned twice already. When someone's built their whole life on outcomes, they don't come back for the truth. They come back for leverage. We moved at dawn. Warrants printed and signed. Boxes labeled. Units staged in unmarked vans like the city didn't want to admit what it was about to do to itself. Captain Carter ran the briefing tight. No speeches, no emotion, just assignments and entry points. Campaign headquarters sat in a renovated brick building downtown, glass front, smiling posters, hope colors that looked cheap in morning light. We hit it clean. The door opened. Security froze. People inside blinked like they'd walked into the wrong movie. Marcus took the left wing with 2 uniforms. I went straight down the hall toward the conference room where Gavin Price was already mid-sentence, talking to a circle of staff like the world still obeyed him. He stopped when he saw us. "Detective," he said, voice practiced. "This is outrageous." I read the warrant out loud anyway. Names, charges, probable cause. The language of reality. Price's face stayed controlled, but his eyes didn't. His eyes flicked, quick, to the doorway like he expected someone to walk in and save him. Nobody did. We cuffed him. We cuffed 2 senior aides. We pulled laptops and phones into evidence bags while the campaign photographer stood there helpless, camera hanging useless at his side. Downstairs, news vans were already forming like vultures. Somebody leaked it. Somebody always leaks it. By noon, City Hall was in panic mode. By evening, Nolan Mercer's attorney was calling with updated cooperation terms. Weston's lawyer was negotiating before the ink was dry. Deals started falling out of people like loose change. And Lauren was gone. Not isn't answering gone. Not blocked you gone. Gone in the way that only happens when someone planned for it. I returned to my apartment after the last statement was signed and the last evidence log was updated. The place was too quiet, like it was holding its breath. I walked straight to the table where she'd dropped the ring. It wasn't there. My chest didn't tighten. My mind did. The ring wasn't sentimental to her. It was an asset, a symbol, a piece of the story she could either discard or weaponize. Then I saw the envelope. Plain white. No stamp. Just my name written in her clean, sharp handwriting like she was labeling a file. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No apology. No, I'm sorry. No tears on the page. Just the truth, the way she handled everything. Efficient. She wrote that she'd prepared contingencies long ago. That she'd chosen ambition over integrity because integrity doesn't win elections. That she wasn't asking me to look for her. And if I did, I'd only make it worse for both of us. At the bottom, one line that felt like the last knife turned polite. You were never the plan. You were the risk I tested. I sat down slowly and read it twice. Once as a man who used to love her, and once as a detective who finally understood the pattern. Weeks passed. The scandal cleaned out the city government like a fire through dry brush. Press conferences, resignations, investigations branching into other departments. Mercer and Weston took deals. Price's future collapsed in public, on record, with a microphone in his face. People asked me how it felt, like I'd won something. I didn't answer much, 'cause I didn't feel like I'd won. I felt like I'd survived. Months later, a postcard showed up in my mailbox with foreign stamps and sun-faded edges. Costa Rica, a photo of a sunrise over water. Too pretty, too calm, like a joke. On the back was a single initial in black ink. No return address, no message, no explanation, just proof she was still out there, still breathing, still controlling what little she could. I pinned the postcard on the corkboard above my desk at home, right next to a copy of the warrant that started the whole collapse. Not as a trophy, as a reminder. She tested my worth like it was a campaign metric. And in the end, I learned the only number that mattered. How long it took me to realize she wasn't worth trusting.
Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, the next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.